Welcome to the Highly Evolved Male Summits. I'm your host, Dathan Dukelta, and today we have Dallas Michael Cyr. Dallas is a master life guide and conscious business mentor, as well as an inspirational speaker and spoken word artist. He's built 3 businesses, and for the last 7 years has been guiding his clients to permanently eliminate negative thought patterns, heal broken relationships, start businesses, and live connected and deeply enriched lives filled with passion and purpose. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, great to have you. Great to have you. Tell us what life was like before you got into doing the coaching and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say pretty standard or typical for most people in a first world westernized society. Basically, going to work and at the time I was a financial planner, so not completely standard in the sense that I wasn't just not just by any means, because I don't think we're all meant to be entrepreneurs, but I wasn't just an employee in a corporate setting. Or just working like a traditional job. I was a financial planner, which I did for 7 years. At the same time, though, much of my routine and the way that I experienced life was the same as everybody. I went to the office. I was in there working for, however many hours, anywhere between 6, sometimes 12-hour days. And then I would go home and be hanging out with friends and a girlfriend. The intention of me building the financial planning practice, it started with me kind of just stumbling through life, really not sure of what I wanted to do with my life or what my specific calling was going to be. When I was younger, I thought I wanted to be an MC or like a quote unquote rapper, but the traditional term, an MC and a hip hop artist. And that's what I did in terms of like music and dancing and just the hip hop culture for a lot of years. And when I realized I may or may not actually parlay this into something serious, at least that's just wasn't what I was surrounded with. I didn't really have the vision for that. It was just like this desire because of what was coming out of me creatively and naturally, but I didn't see a way to go make money with it or really break into the big time with it. So at some point in my journey, I figured, okay, as many people do, I guess I got to grow up and go get a job and go do something. That led me to corporate living and actually having a corporate job. And eventually I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't take the cap on my income. I couldn't take, at the time I was actually working 2 jobs to get by, to be able to also save money. I was really driven and focused, but I just was having to do too much to just get by. So what I ended up doing was I kind of stumbled, believe it or not, into becoming a financial planner because I put my resume out, and because I had a particular license that I got while I was working at an insurance company, that got the kind of like the interest of a headhunter at a financial planning company. So that was my life. I was a financial planner. I was goal focused. I was achievement focused. Like many men, I was focused on goals, focused on making money, focused on getting in the car, the house, security. I was helping other people with focusing on security, being a financial planner, talking about life insurance and assets and college planning. And I was working with upper middle class and small business owners, helping them to save, invest, take care of themselves and employees, put in life insurance and things like that. So that was my life, man. I built a financial planning practice and learned networking. I learned sales. I learned the basics of starting a practice or kind of getting into the entrepreneurial experience. And it really served me well until one point when I realized I'm working way harder than I would ever want to. And it wasn't necessarily about the hours. It was more about hard, meaning it felt like I was trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. It felt like force. It felt like exhaustion. It felt like really nothing I really wanted to do in terms of the work. Eventually I started hating the work itself. And that was my experience. And it led to a beautiful crash and burn eventually.
Yeah, that was going to be my question actually. So, well, firstly, actually, I just want to relate actually to the whole hip hop thing because I was a heavy metal vocalist for a period of time, and it was
Oh,
like
before hip, yeah,
everything
loved
just
him.
kind of letting out all of that angst and creativity, and that's like an amazing process. And it can also, I mean, as much as it's kind of added to my development and whatnot, it also it can kind of fool you sometimes into thinking that is all that there is, but actually we get to understand that there's more facets to us in which we can explore, and yeah, that's awesome. um,
Yeah.
yeah, so what I was going to ask you is what was the kind of the drive and the push that, because if you're earning, probably by that point you're probably earning quite decent money in financial planning and whatnot, and for the majority of
It
people.
was all commission based. So for most people actually that industry has at least a 95% failure rate, if not more. In the office that I eventually went independent, and I wasn't part of a company. I went independent, started my own thing. But for the first 5 years, when I was part of a company, they treated us like an independent, meaning I rented my own office, I hired my own staff, I was 100% commission based.
Wow.
Um, and so, yeah, so, I basically, what I saw in that office, which had one of the best training processes in the industry,
Mm.
I still saw over 100 people in my 5 years of being in that office come in the door and out the door between 3 months to 6 months to a year max.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is a high turnover
One
rate.
huge. One office, just a single office, in
Mm.
just the period of time that I was in, well over 100 people, less than 60. I mean, I'd say maybe 40% lasted the year.
So then that's probably, is that right, that it's due to high stress levels, high
A
stress
lot of
levels, high
things.
workloads? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's taking on a lot more skills than I think most people anticipate, because you are learning how to network, and you're learning how to sell, and you're learning positioning, and you're learning about the industry itself, and the products are always changing. So to really have like a genuine grasp on all of that, and then to also want to be out there selling and networking and really promoting yourself. I thought I was going to come into a company and I would learn the skill of financial planning, and then they would just bring me clients.
Mm.
Yeah, right. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Any entrepreneur with their salt knows that there's a lot more to building a business. So
Yes. So,
yeah. So to go back to your question there, in terms of, specifically, what was I struggling with, or what was
oh
it
right,
about?
yeah. So, the question was, what was the push that pushed you into coaching, or your transition, if you like?
Yeah, it wasn't as well. I guess what happened was, I had one of my best years in my career. About 4 years in, 4 to 4.5 years in, I had one of the best years of my career, and got this all expense paid trip to a beautiful 5-star resort with just an exclusive group of people who, there was 3 different tiers, and I hit like the first tier. And so everyone in that one tier goes on a trip, or is offered the opportunity to go on all expenses paid. And of course there's like extra training and courses that you get, but then the rest of the time you're just loving life, partying, hanging out, and enjoying the good life. And while I was on, I think it was the very first night actually, and I'm getting ready for dinner, and this beautiful, black tie dinner, and my girlfriend's getting ready in the bathroom, and I'm on this balcony overlooking this insane resort. I mean, it was the coolest thing, the most beautiful thing I had seen, at least thus far. And I'm sitting on the balcony and feeling like I did it. Like, wow, holy crap. All the work that got me here. I'm a king. It's like one of those like cigar moments, and just looking back and feeling so proud. And then all of a sudden, the very next thought was, Now what?
Mm.
And the thought of having to do that all over again. And then the realization of just how truly miserable I was. I finally had a moment to slow down and stop for a second. And then everything came flooding in. The girl in the bathroom, she's awesome. She's definitely not the one. You knew that a year ago. She probably knows it. This trip is great, but I could have just paid for the trip. I didn't, I don't need to be given free trips, although that's really nice to hit a certain goal. But is this really worth all the torture I went through all these past years? And man, I don't really love what I'm doing. I love my clients. I love parts of it. But overall, it's nothing I can see myself doing forever. And I'm just going to go do that again and again. And shit, if this isn't it, then what is it? And man, even outside of work, I'm not all that happy. Me and my friends are kind of going in different directions, although they're amazing human beings. We're just kind of wanting different things and all of that. It seemed like it happened in a second. All these things that I wasn't paying attention to and even aware of consciously, because it was the next goal and build the next thing and achieve and just focused on all of that. I didn't have any space to even pay attention to anything else until that one moment. And all of a sudden it came flooding in all at once. And then from that point on, I spiraled down hard. I mean, I went into what felt like what I would experience or express as depression. I stopped working, just stopped working. I was miserable. I was like, okay, so I just won't go in the office. And eventually, because I wasn't continuing to generate money and I didn't have enough renewals to just sustain all of my expenses. So eventually, I started just charging or taking loans. Eventually that got out of hand. It's like I was sleeping, golfing, and shopping. And the only time I went to the office is when I absolutely had to.
Yeah.
And that lasted a while, actually. That's probably almost 2 years of me just getting by. Until it ended in a beautiful, just horrendous crash. And I ended up bankrupt and living back home in a basement and just miserable.
Wow. Yeah. So there was yeah. It was a gradual event, but there was a definite sort of breakdown, which must have catalyzed you into a breakthrough, I would imagine. Tell us how you transitioned into
Always.
Always.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we'll always, especially with men, right? Especially men, more and more we're waking up and it's becoming easier. There's more people like you and I who are getting these messages out that it doesn't have to get that bad. Right. And so I wasn't in a place to, even though I was actually into personal development, but a lot of it was around entrepreneurialism and sales training and like mind and just plain mindset. It wasn't really deeply integrated spiritual, like amazing work that I was embodying so fully that it was transforming my life. It was fairly surface, which today, I mean, there's still tons of just surface crap out there. And it's not, I don't mean that even in a judgment way, just that there's more out there that's now available that wasn't before.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the older paradigm stuff, the stuff that I would consider old paradigm, is still hanging around, is what I mean to say. It's not crap. It's not crap. It serves everybody at some point.
Yeah.
So the point that I'm getting at is that'll run until you have such an awareness that it's not serving you, or such pain that it wakes you up. Right. For most men, they either see, wow, this is just not it. It is not serving me. And they get a wake up call earlier on, and it doesn't have to spiral as bad as it did out of control for me. Or it's like a Mack truck, and it's just this, it's a beautiful burning crash. And then you wake up out of that. So when I woke up out of that, what really turned me around was, one, it got so bad that I had nothing else to lose. And it really caused me to take full stock of my experience and take radical responsibility, because I was the common factor.
Yeah.
right? I was the common denominator in every equation of what was not working in my life. So really like swallowing that pill, the next thing is looking at how come I hired coaches, and I was reading tons of books, and I went to workshops, and I was really investing in turning things around. How come they weren't turning around, or at least not nearly as quickly as I could see? Maybe there was things turning around internally, seeds were planted, but things weren't dramatically turning around. How come? And that was because I wasn't actually embodying what I was learning.
Mm.
There's 3 stages that I teach, that I take my clients through, and it's the idea of thinking something and getting information. Then there's the idea of believing something and really having it start to resonate with you on an emotional level or at a heart level. And then there's knowing, where on a soul and spiritual level, you can do it. This is how something works. At the beginning stages, you just think it's a good idea. And that's the stage where things are very weak. So it's like if somebody comes and tries to change your mind, you're very easily, maneuvered, unless you're just stubborn and angry. But it would be easy for someone to come along with a better argument and change your mind. When you believe something, now you've got some evidence. Maybe you've seen someone else do it. So you believe, yeah, that's really possible. I believe it's possible. And your level of faith grows. Yet until you actually have done it yourself and are living and breathing it, and you're embodying it, then you don't know shit. You think you know a lot. And a lot of people are always in very argumentative places defending what they know because they're embarrassed to look stupid. But the truth is, you don't know anything. And a lot of times when I'm working with men, it's very hard for them to get to swallow that, because it's kind of a kick in the nuts to their ego.
Yeah.
Right. But when they can embrace, it doesn't make you a dumb person, a bad person. And until you really own that you don't know XYZ, then you're actually never going to truly do what it takes to improve it. You'll never actually be on solid ground. You'll continue to be in this illusion or in this fantasy or in denial. And until you truly own it and take radical responsibility and say, you know what, I don't know, and that's okay. It's okay that I don't know. It's safe that I don't know. I can admit that and go get support. Then things can begin to turn around. So I got to that point. I was just like, you know what? I don't know. I'm not actually living and embodying these things. And when I started to apply them, truly apply everything that I was learning and live it and embody it, my morning routine became it became the gospel. It became ceremony. It became a sacred ceremony. Not something I was doing to turn things around or because some book or person told me to do it. It became my sacred time. I owned my morning routine like my life depended on it, because it did. When it came to meditate, I didn't meditate 4 times a week or once a week and say I was meditating and take the cool selfie of me sitting cross-legged in the forest. I friggin' meditated every fucking day, and I sat there when I was comfortable and I sat there when I was uncomfortable. And when it came time to really like living the experience I wanted to live, I didn't just say that I was moving forward towards something. I actually took action. I put money where my mouth is. I put time where my mouth is. And I operated only in alignment. If it didn't feel good, if it wasn't what I really wanted to experience, fuck it. I didn't do it out of self-sacrifice. I didn't do it because it was responsible. I didn't do it out of obligation. I did it because my soul said, hell yes, do that. And that's what I did. Everything else got scrapped. So I prioritized, I got focused and aligned, and I started actually living, embodying what I was learning. And that, I mean, talk about what really happened that I wasn't even aware of at that time was my frequency, my vibration. And I don't think of terms of like high or low, like you've got low vibration, you're bad. You've got high vibration, you're good. That's kind of BS. That's some spiritual BS that people are on. But my vibration did raise. It got higher in the sense that I took in more light into my life and into my body. Yeah. And at that stage, things turned around like that, virtually overnight. My whole experience, my tribe. I attracted one of the most beautiful, amazing, conscious tribes of entrepreneurial badasses who were heart-centered and changing the globe. I went from being in a basement to living in my ideal paradise in California. I attracted business partnerships. I attracted clients. Money started coming in. I literally, when I said I was bankrupt in a basement, I was literally in a basement, in a moldy basement with a drop ceiling with mice running over my head while I was sleeping. And I was bankrupt, literally meaning I claimed bankruptcy, and all of that turned around in like 30 days. It took about 6 months. It took about 6 months to ramp it up because I had to, for a certain amount of time, maintain that level of operation, maintain that way of improving my diet, of sticking to my routine, of sticking to my meditation, of really owning that I was turning my life around, of staying positive, of only doing what was in alignment. I really had to do that for about 6 months. Yet when things started actually changing on the surface, the result of it, and I started to see it and believe it on a whole new level, I was like, holy crap, it is happening. And now shit just started. I mean, it was like this, boom, 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 boom.
I love your story. Like it's so inspiring to show, that you can have been in a moldy basement, or in my case, I was in a caravan for 2.5 years. I think you guys might know that
Cool.
as a trailer.
Wow.
But yeah, you can, through embodying it.
You were living the rock and roll lifestyle, man.
Yeah, I mean that
joking.
was even before, but yeah. But it is possible. It's absolutely possible. And even now, tell us where you are now. What country are you in now?
I've been in Bali for 3 months. I was going to come for a month. So for the last year, so one of the things that I wanted to do in my coaching, right? I was in California, in San Diego, living in a town called Encinitas, which is just paradise. If you ever have a chance to go. It is absolute paradise. And at one point, though, my beloved, the woman I was dating at the time, decided she was going to travel for a year. And at first, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to travel for a year. I love traveling, and we would travel all the time. And we had just gotten back from India, in fact. So I love traveling, and I'm able to do it all the time. Yet after I sat with it, after she planted that seed, and I sat with it, I was like, I've always talked about creating the experience of being able to work wherever, whenever, to be able to do what I want, when I want, where I want. And am I really doing that? And what is the obstacle I think is in the way of me doing that? And I recognized, I have to, if I'm going to continue to scale my business and create something, I've got to be grounded and focused and working hard. And then I realized, wow, I'm catching myself in something that I would call bullshit if my client was to say it. Right. Yeah. So you get, if you're going to be leading others, you better be leading yourself. And if I'm going to, be able to teach somebody else, then I've got to live and breathe it. And really, if I wanted to just kind of like travel the world, does that excite me? And I'm like, yeah, that would be amazing. And so I just said, you know what? I am going to do that. And so for the last year, I've lived in 5 different countries. I've lived in 2 different areas in Turkey. I've lived in Croatia. I went back to the US. I lived in India. And I've been in Bali for the last 3 months. And now I'm going to Greece in 2 days.
That's so amazing. And that's, well, in my opinion, that's really living the dream. And yeah, I'm on my way to that. I am on my way to that. That is in the, it's on the list.
Yeah, awesome.
Tell us, you've obviously had this amazing transformation, but like, how do you, like, some guys are going to be sat there like, okay, great, but how the hell do I make that happen? Is there, something that they can do to create that, or,
Yeah. I'll give you the foundation of what I created. So what happened was about like when I said kind of like things started turning around quickly. Well, I would say if I was to give it some kind of time frame, I sold everything I owned. I moved to California in 5 days. Happened in 5 days. As something just fell perfectly into place. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go do that. And then I found myself in California, and so that was about 6 months ramping up. Then a series of events happened almost instantly, within like a week's time, 5 different things just fell into place. Magic started happening. What appeared to be magic started happening. And I moved to California, sold everything I owned, effortless and easily. I mean, effortless, just cash in hand for everything I wanted. No, I mean, people were arguing over stuff that I was selling. I didn't have to negotiate. They were just like, "Okay, I'll take it. If they don't take it, I'll give you more for it." It was just cash in hand on a plane. I was gone. Then when I'm in California, I attract this amazing community and all these cool opportunities, and things started taking off even more after that. And I'd say about 90 days after that move, I looked back and said, wow, how did all of this, like there was a moment when I was just like on the beach, it kind of really landed where, kind of what just happened in the last like 6 to 9 months. And I'm like, holy crap, what what an amazing experience. And what like a tornado of events,
Yeah.
And when I sat there, I started thinking about, what was it that really changed those things? Like what was it? Kind of mapped it out, because obviously I'm thinking, oh, maybe I could teach this. I want to teach this. I want to show other people. I want to show other people that they can too. And what I mapped out was about 5 to 6 components of what I did. And then I started to put them into a particular order, because I believe sequence matters. A lot of times we're trying to put B before A. Sometimes we're imagining that before I can get to C, I have to do B, meaning we put imaginary obstacles in the way.
Right.
When this happens, then I'll do that.
Yeah.
But who said it has to be A, B, C? Why can't it be A, C? Maybe there's nothing in between the thing you think the thing you say that you want. Maybe there's nothing in between. Maybe maybe B doesn't have to happen first. And that's usually what I end up, when I'm with clients, they say, well, before that can happen, of course I got to do this, right? And I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. Why do you think you need to do it? Well, because of this, and that. We poke holes all the way in it. And then all of a sudden they see that thing doesn't have to happen first, that there's either another route, or they can just do that thing that they want, or have that thing that they want immediately. And all of a sudden we've gone from A to C instead of A, B, C.
Yeah.
So that is a possibility. Yet that's different than understanding that in order for me to have a particular experience, that there's a growth curve. So there's a particular kind of sequence of events and learning that I get to experience in order for me not to continue to repeat the BS that I'm healing and growing from. Because sometimes if we don't get all of the meat and juice in these opportunities, right, these gifts, when the proverbial shit hits the fan, it's the best time in your life.
Yes.
The best time in your life for you to actually expand, and for you to see what's really going on, and for you to get like the juice of that opportunity and go to the next level. And so if you don't get the sequence right, and really get what's happening in those moments, then you're really essentially increasing the chances that you're actually just going to repeat those mistakes. So I realized there is an ease that can happen when you do things in a particular sequence.
Yeah.
With certain transformation. Like I was beginning to say, that's not all the time. Sometimes you can go from A to Z without a lot of things in between that you think have to happen. Yet sometimes it's really supportive to have the right sequence of events to assist you in your growth and transformation. That was true in this situation. In this situation, I realized that there was these 6 components, and when put together in the right order, magic could happen. So here's those 6 components. 1, it was a new level of awareness. One of the things that I teach my clients, and I wish I don't know exactly the person I heard this from, but it's a very powerful statement that I'll share with you, which is, if the problem was the problem, you would have solved it by now.
Yeah.
If what you think is actually the problem, then all of the energy, time, money you've spent focusing on it, trying to fix it, you would have solved it by now. But the issue is that's actually the thing you think is the problem, the thing that you're focused on and trying to turn around, the quote unquote lack of money or the lack of love. if that was the problem, you would have solved it. That's actually not the problem. That is the result. And the problem is something that you are unaware of and unconscious to. And if you don't either see it yourself or get support to see it, then you will continue to repeat that shit on greater and greater scales. I've seen people, I've actually coached people who were six-figure earners, and then that business crashed and burned. Then they found a new business or a new plan, and they worked twice as hard, and then they built a seven-figure business, and then that crashed and burned in the same damn fashion. And they came to me because they didn't want to repeat that shit a third time, and they realized that what was at the root of the crash and burn that they thought they had fixed the first time wasn't. There was absolutely something else at that root.
Yeah.
And when we discovered that root, then they could create something and have it be sustainable and not make those same mistakes that cause that burn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't understand we can't necessarily see our shadow because you're not supposed to. You get to have the awareness and mentoring or coaching to see it. Otherwise, you keep repeating the same patterns. Yeah.
It's definitely the fastest way.
Yeah.
Instead of having to repeat the mistake so many times that finally you get it on your own, or to spend however many countless hours in solitude journaling and doing countless exercises to get to the root of it, instead of reading however many books, going to however many exercises, having somebody who can mirror back to you and support you in finding the root of it is absolutely the fastest way. Well, it's why it's why you go to school. It's why you hire a business coach or a mentor or a tennis coach, so they can point out the thing you can't see. So omni awareness, hyper awareness, being able to see the thing that you don't see now, and that takes a deep attuning, like truly attuning to your language, to your emotions, to your habits, to your cycles, to the things that you're repeating. And so at the time, I actually didn't have help with that. I did have to do it on my own and see that on my own. And I was able to kind of reverse engineer all the things that I was saying and thinking and doing and feeling at a deep, deep, deep level until I finally got to what was the root.
Yes.
At least one of the roots. To help me get to the next stage. So that was the first thing, was awareness. The second thing that I recognized was it's something I call the gift. And I've coined the term, your challenges are your greatest gifts. It's a book that I'm writing. I own the URL. And so basically what I'm saying there, most people don't get. Most people think, oh yeah, everything happens for a reason. I already know that. And when I talk to people, I talk to them on a spiritual level, a chemical and biological level, a physiological level, a neurological level, and then a physical, practical, grounded in your face level. We go 6 levels deep. It's not just everything happens for a reason, because then people think that it happened for a reason, the word reason, which means now I have to start reasoning and using my logical mind to figure out why it happened.
Yeah.
And what we often do is we end up getting in the way because the brain and the ego is trying to figure out the solution, but we're using the same tool that created the problem in the first place.
Yes.
Second of all, I can say, because it's a beautiful cliche, everything happens for a reason, and still feel like the thing that's happening is not a gift, but a friggin' challenge, and I have to beat it and overcome it. And that puts me in fight mode instead of actually in expansion and receive mode.
Yeah.
So I'm still in contraction instead of expansion. Instead of receptivity, I'm still in this mode. Yeah. I don't want the reason. I don't know what the reason is why this is happening, and I still don't want this to happen. Make this go away. This hurts. This sucks. Versus, this is happening for my highest and greatest good. Thank God this is happening. Spirit, tell me why this is happening. I am open. I receive. I am moving through this. Everything is perfect and in my greatest and highest. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
2 completely different experiences. So that's step 2. seeing the gift and getting on a mental and physiological level, a neurological level, a biological level, a spiritual level, and a practical, grounded, in your face level. That what is happening is a gift, and then getting to what that gift is. Step three, what I've discovered that serves me is analysis. Now, a lot of people will think analysis paralysis. They think of like being, with their psychologist and going over story after story, sitting on a couch talking about their daddy. There's nothing wrong with that. There's many paths to the same point in the mountain. But what I recognized is it's not about repeating the past and analysis paralysis, yet it is about discovering where these patterns and conditionings and way of thinking and behaving came from. There is value to that. If you do it with intention and clarity, then there can be value to going back into the past, and it won't just deepen the groove in the record for you to get into more anger and hate and frustration and repeat the patterns. Instead, it'll shine light on what created those patterns and support you in moving beyond them and creating something new and different.
Wow.
So analysis is huge. When I'm working with my clients, I show them, I ask them a series of questions that helps them to see where those habits and patterns and beliefs absolutely began. And now they can see, oh, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
I can stop blaming and shaming myself and being in guilt and judgment. It's not my fault. Yes. Yay. Yay. You're right. Yeah, good. I knew we would get here. It's not your fault. But guess what? Sorry. Still completely 1,000% your responsibility.
Yes. Because we create our reality.
That's it. You're still an adult, and I don't care who gave it to you or how it got created. It absolutely helps you to move through any trauma you might have, helps you to love yourself more, helps you to understand how and why it happened. And that is magical, because then real healing can happen and you can take radical responsibility. It's a gateway to taking radical responsibility, because you move from victim and blame and shame.
Yeah.
Yet at the end of the day, still up to you and in your hands to turn it around. And the good news is you can, and you will.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. The next step is acceptance, because really, until we fully embrace something and truly accept it, we don't move on. And most people still are operating from anger and frustration. In fact, depression and rage, which are the same. They're the same thing, by the way. Depression is just the opposite spectrum of rage, and rage is the opposite side of spectrum of depression. It's just one is turned outward, the other one is turned inward.
Right.
And so we still end up in that place until we learn how to truly accept it. And, I've shared openly about being molested as a child, and I've shared openly about being bullied, and I've shared openly about bankruptcy. And to really embrace that and own that as a man and still be a king in my life is a powerful place to get to.
Yes.
And so some people will say, well, how do I accept so-and-so who left me, who stole from me, who hit me, who lied to me, who I can go on and on and on. And I can't tell you in a single word the how. Yet I can tell you that it's possible.
Right.
And when you can reach that level of self-acceptance, as well as acceptance for everybody who you think has wronged you, like genuine embracing, genuine forgiveness. Oh my God. It's the equivalent of like trying to run a marathon carrying a suitcase of bricks in quicksand.
Yeah.
Versus being in like a $200 pair of like the best running sneakers in the world on a beautiful, smooth, flat running surface, and just carrying nothing, of course, but the lightness of the cells of your own body.
Yeah.
and
Sounds beautiful.
just taking off. It is night and day. It is that dramatic. And so when we're trying to grow and heal ourselves, um, when we can really embrace and accept at that level, yeah, everything transforms. You're literally your vibration really does begin to shift immediately, because we don't realize that it's the things that we're fighting and not accepting that are making it so hard for us to shift our frequency and vibration, right?
Mm.
I mean, you get that,
Yeah, it's easier to be in flow with
so
what is
much.
happening and accepting those things, so then we can be in an empowered way of being rather than a victim
That's
way
right.
of being, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, bingo. Acceptance really is, acceptance and forgiveness really is the greatest state of empowerment you can be in. A lot of times when we're angry, especially with men, it's so easy to want to compete. It's so easy to want to go prove them wrong. It's so easy to want to get revenge. It's so easy to want to just block them out and just to have this push away and this force. And we're just not aware of what that's creating in our own life. It's really difficult because of the way that we've been trained as men.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it really is like it's spot on. And so when I say sequence, the reason why the sequence is imperative is because what I learned in my own journey was there was a lot of great programs that I had paid for and then I was a part of that were either helping me to heal and grow, or giving me tools and techniques to build a business and create the next thing.
Mm.
It was either kind of like wipe the slate clean and heal and heal these difficulties and traumas and belief work and shadow work and stuff, or it was NLP and create a business strategy, or here's some mindset hack, right? And implement this new tool.
Yeah.
It was one or the other. But I can heal and not necessarily have the support or guidance or the clarity to move powerfully into the next stage, into the vision. Or I can get a great tool and technique and have this new exercise, this new mental hack, or this new the 5 keys to build this thing, this new business. But if all this old shit's still running, I'm actually not going to do it. I'm gonna do these cool tricks and tips and tools and the 3 secrets of this for about a month. Then I'm gonna go back to the same old shit.
Yeah.
And this is why 98%, 95%, 95%, 98% at best fail to actually really create sustainable change and create something that matters from the place that they're at. Because I realized I wanted to give my clients both. Let's clean the slate completely. And then once we've done these 4 steps, which I've just given you to clean the slate, now the next 2 steps are going to be so much easier to implement.
Mm.
Plus, you're going to be doing them at a much different place. Instead of doing them from your old mindset, instead of doing them from trying to prove something to daddy, instead of doing them from trying to fix problems that aren't actually problems, instead of doing it from this place down here, you can now architect what you really want to architect and create the life of your dreams and call in what's next from this place.
Mm.
And what you're able to see and envision and create for your life is completely different than before. So those 4 steps let you clean the slate. Then the final 2 steps are easy, which is architecture, really having a clear design and vision and asking for what you want, which comes from a turned on throat chakra and sacral chakra. Having the vision, letting spirit intuitively guide you, what comes from having a powerful turned on third eye chakra. And being completely aligned and in tune at an energetic level, a frequency level. Because most people are trying to take action from misalignment. And no amount of action is going to move you past your misaligned energy. But if you're aligned energetically and vibrationally, and your vision is aligned, and what you really want to do is what your heart desire is, then you can take a third of the action, a third, and get quadruple the fucking results of somebody else who is not in alignment and just hustle and grind, hustle and grind. Oh my God. Next time I hear someone's hustling and grinding, I'm going to shoot myself. You're hustling and grinding? I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. So architecting, having that vision, learning how to create something from alignment, tuning into your alignment, raising your vibration, having a clear vision, and architecting the life of your dreams from this new place. Then the final step, which is aligned action. True aligned action. And that it's so different than the type of action people are taking nowadays. It really is. The way I teach architecting your life in action is all I can say is I haven't really seen it done this way, and yet there are people teaching components of it, and of course there are many components of it that I've learned, and I've just kind of put it together in a unique way. But it's not typically the way, like when I say aligned action, it's not usually the way people are taking action today, because we are oftentimes coming from a place of like force and trading dollars for hours, and worrying about the external way it looks, like the website and all these activities. That's what it is. Like tools and tricks and activities and hacks.
Yeah,
is the way most people are taking action. But I just think that's a little bit harder than it has to be.
Yeah, it's almost like what you have here is like a holistic approach that is really starting at a foundational level and clearing that bullshit so that then you can build stably on top of it and create from an embodied way of knowing, a way of being, and be aligned with who you are at that core level, so that then you can just flourish, from the deepest part of your soul. That's what it sounds like to me.
Clearly you've done your work, brother, because you articulated that perfectly. That is exactly it. I a lot of times I'll use the reference, and people have heard this before, and I'm sure you have too, about the idea of like how deep and strong a foundation gets to be depending on how tall and high the skyscraper is going to be. And it's really that. It really is that. And you just said it perfectly. So yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay.
So when you said how, for that person sitting there, is like how, that's really the 6-step process. It's getting just like really realizing it's like, okay, there's a new level of awareness that I have to figure out in my life, because clearly there's something I'm not aware of that keeps causing this thing. And then just one step at a time, going through the rest of those processes that I talked about.
Yeah, this sounds really powerful, and
Thanks,
I would totally be taking into account all of that you've been saying about that. So yeah, thank you for that. It's a fantastic resource and piece of insight. So we are in fact coming to the end of the interview, unfortunately, because it's been great listening to you and having this connection and
appreciate
doing
the
this.
chance.
So let's move on to your free gifts. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, it's basically it's one of them is a full 30-minute talk that I gave on stage, which is me teaching module 2 of what I just talked about, that your challenges are your greatest gifts. It's a whole half hour of me really, really explaining what that means in your life and how to get to that point for yourself. And then it's 4 more videos after that talking about analysis and awareness and how to create really, what you're ideally wanting from where you're at, and there's golden nuggets in every single video. It's a great overview to get anybody started, and it really is the foundation of how I began to turn things around for myself from that very dark kind of like dramatic place. A lot of people listening might not be in the place that I was in where it was that bad, which is wonderful. A lot of my clients don't come from that place. A lot of my clients are 6-7 figures earners who just can't figure out how things can look so good in one area of their life and they could still struggle in another area of their life, or how they could go from things being so great and then all of a sudden it crashed and burned. They start thinking, well, what did I do wrong and what did I miss? And and so it doesn't have to be as bad as I explained it was for me. But so regardless of where you're at, I do believe that those videos could support you in turning things around. So
excellent. Thank you so much. That's so generous of you. Thank you for being on the show. It's been great connecting with you, and thank you for your wisdom.
Yeah, thanks for putting something like this together. The people need it. The men need it, especially. More and more of us are waking up and coming together to support one another, and it's awesome. I'm all for more brotherhood, more conscious men. It is absolutely healing to the planet. Good for you for doing your work and for putting this together and supporting people. And thank you for your good questions and for articulating some of the things that I was probably rambling about. You put a button on them pretty good, so thank you very much.
No, you did a fantastic job. And thank you for everyone watching. Thank you for everyone watching, and tune in tomorrow for another speaker, and we'll get some more insight and wisdom to improving our lives. So thank you, and peace and love to everybody.
Cheers.